Hello, so for today's episode of the daily videos on my channel, for which I normally don't like to say episode, for instance, because it's not necessarily episodic, it's just the videos of certain subjects that I want to make, which is daily, so it can seem quite episodic, but today is episodic because it is the third. It's so tempting to say annual after saying third, like the third annual, but I guess that's just from American movies and what have you. But it's the third Storytime Sunday, and so the second Storytime Sunday was obviously called Failure. The first Storytime Sunday was called New York, so I was talking about the story of how I saved mine and my father's life in New York from needing to go to the toilet, the bathroom. But this episode is going to be about what I was going to talk in the second episode, what I was going to talk about in the second episode. And for instance, that makes it easy for me to explain how in the second episode it was called Failure, as I've just already said, because I tried to necessarily experiment and make a video that was 4K, so 4K 60 FPS. And this one will be like 1080p, which I'm pretty sure is what HD on the iPhone means. Again, Dean, not another shout out to iPhone. And I'll give another shout out to Rob while I'm at it, that whilst I'm talking about it, I'm trying to make this one not a cop-out. Because he said that the 20-second video or 25-second or whatever video that I talked about America in was a cop-out because it was only 25 seconds, whereas all these other videos I do are at least 8 minutes long. I've got like on my TV screen, which is connected to my laptop, like all my videos, and it's like 8:15, 8:23 of like the first digit that is relevant, the minutes. So at least they're all 8 minutes. So I'll sort of feel like they're all at least over 8 minutes. And so, like for instance, I've already waffled on so much about this in terms of the formatting of the video. And so, obviously, yeah, like I've already mentioned, Callum, move on. So the last one was a cop-out. I'm going to say, no, it definitely was a cop-out. Because I was talking about how I tried to... So the story was the story of me trying to upload the Storytime Sunday video, but obviously it didn't work because the recording stopped because I tried to record it in 4K 60 FPS. So that was a stupid idea. But now I've got into the format where they just work. Like, I don't know why I say work, because I got corrected one time. Instead of saying, oh, that's where you need to go, I need to say that's where you need to go. And so now I do that, but now sometimes every now and then I say work instead of work, because that's the sound. I'm already correcting that. And so I've got this format that works because it's 1080p 60 FPS, which is like ideal, and so I'm doing it now. So right, all that without a further ado, I'm gonna move on to the actual video. All that was intro, and I hope that wasn't, well, it's going to be at least a minute long. Maybe I hope that was all less than 2 minutes long. And so today's Storytime Sunday is going to be called Foot Champs. And I'm getting severe PTSD now, which I say in a lot of videos, from this video that I'd already made, and hence why I had to call it Storytime Sunday Failure, because that was the one that was the video that I recorded, which was like 20 minutes long, and I went into great detail, which I won't go into in this video because I've already gone into detail about pointless things that don't need to go into detail about. But also, you might not necessarily be interested in FIFA, the video game, which I don't know if I said FIFA just before, but is in Foot Champs. Foot Champs is a section of FIFA Ultimate Team, hence FIFA Ultimate Team Foot, which is in FIFA, the EA Sports football video game. And I'm explaining this too much because I don't need to explain FIFA and say like the EA Sports football game, because even people who don't play FIFA know that. That's easy to know. But so my experience with Foot Champs, and I'll probably tell this over and over again, which I have already told over and over again, about how I tell things over and over again, or I'm going to tell things over and over again, because at the moment I've only got 25 25 subscribers, and you know, it's not the viewer base that I'd want to hit if and when, you know, I'm way bigger in the future, and I'm always going to want to tell the story because it's something that not means a lot to me, but it's like interesting. And so with Foot Champs, now I've got a lot to get through, but please bear with me. If you're interested already, then you should already be interested. So I don't need to coerce you into watching the rest of this YouTube video, if you will. But I'll try and, right. So there's obviously FIFA, and on FIFA there's Ultimate Team. And one FIFA, I'm pretty sure it was the first FIFA, which I'm not sure which FIFA this was, what said FIFA was. But the first FIFA, that in FIFA Ultimate Team, they introduced Foot Champs, which was the weekend league. And so if you know FIFA, you'll know that all the streamers and the YouTubers play the weekend league because it's what the people that are best at FIFA do. And so Foot Champs is the weekend league is the Foot Champs. So you play on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, for instance, when you finish work, when you finish school. So that's why they've done it on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And I think it actually finishes at like UK time, like 3 p.m. So as soon as people finish school, which would obviously start before people finish work, but more people who are going to finish school play FIFA than people who are going to finish work, because obviously it's for the younger generation, the kids, because older people don't watch football. So that makes sense. So in Foot Champs, you've got to qualify, and the first time it was rolled out, you either qualified by being the best, well, winning a season, which meant you have to play people a certain amount of times, just like how you have seasons in regular football, that were at the same level as you. And there was another way, which was you could win a trophy, which was literally you were put into like a bracket of like 8 teams, and then 8 teams, and then 4, and then 2, and then 1. And so I qualified for Foot Champs, and I'm pretty sure it was the first FIFA that it was rolled out on. It wasn't the first Foot Champs week, for instance. As I said, it was every weekend, so it was weekly. But the first and only, now this will be interesting, the first and only one that I qualified for through obviously a trophy, because I had no idea, but I had nowhere near the level of playing FIFA to qualify by being necessarily the correct level. So I was like a wild card. Like, I did the trophy that you had to get through, so I was entered into a random bracket with other players and beat all these other players by beating them. But it was very random. It was lucky to get into, because obviously I just wasn't at the level to get into it. But this is where the interesting thing is. So it was a weird tournament as well, because you had to use only bronze and silvers. It might have just been bronze players, and obviously if you've never played the game before, I'll explain. If you have, this will seem very derivative, etc, etc. But there's bronze, silver, and gold players. Golds, you've got your Messi's, Ronaldo's, Neymar's, anyone who plays in the Premier League, basically, in England. And then you've got your silvers, who are just sort of the worst of the players who play in the Premier League in England. And then you've got bronze players who are like just worse players. Like it's hard to explain, especially to someone who doesn't necessarily enjoy their football or whatever. But as I haven't mentioned before, but this is sort of a disclaimer which I'm pretty sure I haven't mentioned in this recording, which if you let me explain why I don't remember if I've already explained it, because it's already, look at the bottom of the screen how long that I've recorded this, and obviously I talk about a lot of stuff, but the bronze, silver, and the gold players is very hard to explain, but it's basically a different level of players, and it was the worst level of players, which not a lot of people do because they try and get the best teams, but I'm used to playing with the bad players, so I guess it was easier for me. So anyway, in this tournament, which was in the weekend league, which I won that bracketed tournament to get into, And then, so I did this weekend league. And now the weekend league was 30 games. You play 30 games over the course of Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And you get a score, obviously ranging from 30 to 0, I guess. But what I mean is, in terms of, you can have, it's how many games you win, how many games you lost. Every draw would be decided by penalties, well, extra time and penalties. So, for instance, the very best you could get would be 30-0, and the very worst you could get would be 0-30. And there's one kid, actually, I'm pretty sure he's like Scandinavian or something, and I've seen him on TikTok a lot, or people talking about him on TikTok a lot, because he went like 10 weeks in a row being like 30-0, and then lost lost one game. So like he was basically just invincible, and then just lost, and that was interesting. I don't know if anyone could tell me who he was. I definitely can't, or even that I have a viewer base of someone to tell me who it was. But so this week, the one time, the first and only, remember, and only, it'll be obvious now the more I explain it, but the first and only time that I qualified for this weekend league, Foot Champs, I was like, I'm not committed to it, but I'm like, I want to give this a good go. So I had like the TV that I'm looking at right now, it's like a 32-inch or something. It's like relatively big. I remember in my room, I sort of just, for this weekend only, I just rejigged everything. So I made sure I was like sat in my like office chair. I had my Xbox in front of me, TV on it. I was right close up to it, getting square eyes kind of feel. I had my gaming headphones on. I was like not talking to my friends while I was playing. I was just in the moment, right? Like trying to do well. And so I did all right. I got 16 wins, if I'm not wrong. It was either 14 or 16, which, as I'm sure you'll understand, is like quite good. And the level that I got was gold 2. There was like bronze, silver, gold, and elite. And elite is like your streamers and your YouTubers who play the game constantly and they're really good at it. I got gold 2, which I thought was quite was a really good one, right? Anyway, did weekend league, did Foot Champs, got gold 2. From 6, I'm pretty sure it was 16. I got 16 wins, right? So, no, I definitely remember it being 16 because I remember I got over halfway. So obviously you've got 15, which is half of the 30 games, and I did over. So I won more games than I lost, basically. But I was going into like tryhard modes, and obviously I was like 16, 18 at the time, and so I was probably playing like 13 and 14-year-olds. So I was like giving it all I've got, and this was like probably the last year, or if anything was the last year, that I actually gave one about FIFA, which obviously you understand now. Basically, so I got that level. I got gold 2, I got 16 wins. The next week, I was unable to qualify for Foot Champs. Obviously, because I wasn't at the division level to be able to win the title and not get promoted, but gain access to the weekend league, which was a very different thing to seasons, which now doesn't exist. They just do some sort of, they call it like division rivals, which I feel takes like the football aspect out of it. But oh well. And then so I was also unable to do it in the trophy, which, as I said before, was like a complete fluke. It was like a wild card sort of experience. So I was unable to do it. That week of the weekend league finished, whatever, that went ahead. That was fine. I was just like, oh, so I've not got into it. That's fine. I wasn't bothered. Like the week after, EA Sports announced. Now this is actually the final point. I'm sorry that I'm still rambling, but it's just the fact that I've got through all that, and now I have to say, like, the final point is the fact that EA announced after that week that anyone who got gold 2, i.e. 16 wins, got gold 2 in the weekend league, was automatically re-qualified for the next weekend league. And there was no, obviously, they don't care. They're the man. They're the big corporation. They're not going to go, oh, well, let's think about all the people who've got gold 2, who we've not given a chance to. Like, so I took that as a universal sign that I'm done trying to be competitive at FIFA. not like I was ever trying to be competitive with FIFA, but not caring about the Weekend League. That was the one and only time I got Weekend League, and every time someone asked me about FIFA and go, "Oh, do you play FIFA on the team?" This is the one story that I always sort of bring up. And so if you made it this far, thank you for watching. That's the gist of that Storytime Sunday. If you're not someone who likes football, not a gamer, and obviously, well, not someone who likes FIFA, not a football person or game person, and you've watched all the way through, thank you. As I always say in all my videos, if the subject that I like to talk about, or chosen to talk about in that video, hasn't applied to you, then obviously, well, yeah, I'm sorry, I guess, but I'm also intrigued whether you've enjoyed the video. Granted, you probably haven't made it to the end, because I understand how people and liking content works, or at least I like to think I do. Not that my 25 subscribers means anything. But I hope that I've explained something that you wouldn't necessarily have I'm trying to say understood and enjoyed, but I said underjoyed at the same time. That you wouldn't necessarily have understood, or I'll tell you what, I'll do you one better than that. Understood and or enjoyed, but I have made it seem enjoyable and understandable. So that's the video. Thank you for watching, and I'm scared that I'm going to turn around and, one, it's not recording, it should be, but also it's like 25 minutes long. Right, that's the end of the video. Thank you for watching.